Alaikum and welcome to the weekly press briefing of the Foreign Office. Let me begin by underlining Pakistan's position on the latest developments in Afghanistan. We continue to follow closely the evolving situation in Afghanistan. We have noted the latest announcement about formation of interim political setup in Kabul, which would address the requirement of a governance structure to meet the urgent needs of the people of Afghanistan. We hope that the new political dispensation will ensure coordinated efforts for peace, security, and stability in Afghanistan, as well as work towards taking care of humanitarian and development needs of the Afghan people. Pakistan reaffirms its abiding commitment to a peaceful, stable, sovereign, and prosperous Afghanistan. In pursuance of the above position and in continuation of our constructive role and engagement, primarily keeping the interest of the Afghan people up front, the government of Pakistan has decided to dispatch humanitarian assistance comprising food and medicines for the people of Afghanistan. First flight carrying such assistance reached Kabul yesterday, and another flight arrived in Kandahar today. One more flight is expected, and further supplies would continue through land routes. This is a practical manifestation of our commitment to assist our Afghan brothers and sisters. We also expect the international community would play its due role in helping address the urgent needs of the Afghan people in order to avert a humanitarian crisis. As you know, Pakistan's diplomatic missions in Afghanistan continue to function. In the days leading up to the completion of the military withdrawal from Afghanistan, Pakistan provided critical support to the multinational evacuation effort from Afghanistan, both from Kabul airport and across the border. On the larger plane, Pakistan has continued proactive diplomacy in recent weeks, interacting with a host of partners in the region and beyond. The objective to exchange views and coordinate positions on the best way forward to help ensure sustainable peace and stability in Afghanistan, which is a shared objective of the international community. Just to give you a glimpse of these activities, Prime Minister Imran Khan has spoken to 13 world leaders since 15th of August. The most recent of these interactions was with the Emir of Qatar, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and the Crown Prince of UAE, besides the UN Secretary General. On his part, the Foreign Minister has had 25 telephonic conversations with his counterparts since 15th of August. This includes the Foreign Ministers of Austria, Slovenia, Iran, Poland, and Romania, and the Kenyan Defense Minister since my last briefing. And we have had, as you are aware, 6 visits of foreign ministers in recent days, starting with Germany. We had the Dutch, the British, Italian, Qatari ministers, and the Spanish foreign minister earlier today. These visits provided an opportunity to renew bilateral contacts and coordinate positions on regional issues, Pakistan's support for evacuation efforts, and overall constructive role on Afghanistan, which has been described as a key stabilizing and positive factor, were appreciated during these interactions. A particular focus of our diplomatic outreach and engagement has been the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, who naturally have important stakes in the situation and a common desire for a peaceful and stable Afghanistan. Following the foreign minister's visit to the region last month, a meeting of the special representatives and envoys of the 6 neighboring countries was convened by Pakistan, and it was held on 5th September virtually. And building on that, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi chaired the foreign ministers' meeting on the Afghan issue among the neighboring countries of Afghanistan via a video link on 8th September, which was attended by his counterparts from China, Iran, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. This meeting reviewed the evolving situation in Afghanistan to address common challenges and realize emerging opportunities to ensure regional stability and prosperity. A joint statement was issued at the conclusion of this meeting. It was agreed to continue meetings of the foreign ministers on a rotating basis, with the next meeting to be held in Iran. And it was also agreed to set up a mechanism of regular consultations of the special envoys and representatives of these countries. This is important. Also, on 8th September, the foreign minister participated in the ministerial coordination session hosted by Secretary Blinken and Foreign Minister Maas of Germany, and shared Pakistan's perspectives in that forum. As this situation is at a critical juncture, and responsible members of the international community are engaged in deliberating the best way forward on Afghanistan, it is extremely deplorable that certain spoilers and detractors, the same known actors, remain busy in peddling false narratives and disinformation, which, by the way, already stood busted and discredited by various sources. Motivated stories recently carried by certain segments in the international media alluding to Pakistan's involvement in Panjshir are categorically rejected. These allegations are part of a mischievous propaganda campaign led by Indian media's fake news that has been thoroughly exposed. These malicious allegations were part of a desperate attempt to malign Pakistan and to mislead the international community, but they will not succeed. Pakistan has repeatedly alerted the international community about the negative and harmful role of such spoilers. Let me once again reiterate that right now, all energies must be focused on ensuring lasting peace and stability in Afghanistan. That requires positive engagement of the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now turn to the situation in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. We condemn, in the strongest possible terms, Indian occupation forces' continued harassment of Sayyid Ali Gilani's family. The registration of cases against the grieving family members of the iconic Kashmiri leader is yet another reprehensible act by the Indian occupation forces. It contravenes all standards of morality and ethics. The Foreign Minister has addressed letters to the UN Secretary General and the High Commissioner for Human Rights in this regard. The Indian Charge was also summoned to the Foreign Office and was conveyed Pakistan's strong démarche on Indian occupation forces' shameless, callous, and inhuman handling of the mortal remains of Sayyid Ali Gilani in blatant violation of international humanitarian and human rights laws. India was further asked to refrain from any missteps that might further jeopardize regional peace, and it was also reminded of Pakistan's consistent stance that the government of India must immediately lift the illegal military siege in IIOJK, desist from measures to change the demographic structure of the occupied territory, withdraw its over 900,000 occupation troops, and seize all human rights violations in the occupied territory. The unprecedented military siege, extrajudicial killings, arbitrary arrests and detentions, including of political leaders, curbs on fundamental freedoms of the Kashmiri people, and intimidation of journalists unfortunately continue. But it must be sufficiently evident to India that its continued egregious human rights violations will not be able to subjugate the Kashmiris and stop them from their just struggle for self-determination. The international community, we believe, must take serious notice of the systematic and grave human rights violations and trampling of fundamental rights in IIOJK and hold India to account for its inhuman and illegal actions and violations of international law. Pakistan will continue to sensitize and inform the international community about the dire state of human rights in IIOJK, resulting from India's war crimes and systematic persecution and violation of human rights of the Kashmiri people. Pakistan will also continue all possible support for our Kashmiri brothers and sisters, and you have noticed that we have reiterated our support for the new APHC leadership as well. I thank you, and I am happy to take questions.